You are here to impact thousands. No, not thousands, hundreds of thousands of people. And you know what, deep down, these are the three things that I help my clients embody that has helped them to grow their audiences like crazy and truly like be the light. Because one of the things you get to remember is that in order to attract thousands and thousands of people to the light, you've got to be that light. And when you are doing the opposite of these three things that I'm going to share, it repels your ideal client. It repels the larger audience that you are wanting to impact. And it also, energetically, your audience can just feel a dissonance there. And they feel like you're probably saying the right things, but they will feel that it's not landing in the way you want it to. Look, I know you're good. You're good at what you do. You have made thousands upon thousands, but there's another level that you're ready to get to. And you're ready to impact like the hundreds of thousands. You're ready for your message to be the message. You're ready to be the person that everyone talks about in your industry. And in order to do that, you've got to do these three things. So to share the story with you, I am going to use an example. And recently, I was watching the Real Housewives of Dubai. I'm still in season 1, guys. And I'm on episode 9, so there's probably a lot more that I need to see. But I was looking at Dr. Sarah. She is a light worker like all of us. And she has a really beautiful heart. But she's actually not doing the three things I'm going to talk about. And by her example, you're going to see how it's very nuanced, but how these three things can affect how people receive you. Okay, so let's talk about it. The first thing you've got to do when you want to attract thousands into the light is you've got to leave judgment behind. And when I say leave judgment behind, I know you've heard it over and over again. Oh, be non-judgmental, blah, blah, blah. Look, I have an audience, when you include my email list and social media and all of that, it's at the time of this recording, about 51,000 people. And these people stay in my audience because they don't feel judged. And so let me give you an example. When Dr. Sarah was experiencing Chanel Ayan, right? And she could see that Chanel had some places that she got to shift. And she wasn't necessarily Chanel or Ayan coming from a positive place. When she wrote kind on her arm, as far as, I guess, trying to tell her she needed to be more kind, it was more of a judgment and less of a, let me be the example of that for you. And it was clear that that was like a turning point for Ayan. She was just like, okay, yeah, I get you. And you're like talking at me, but it feels like you're judging me. And so where are you kind of judging your clients? Like, where are you preaching at them instead of not only embodying what you're teaching, but also accepting where they are and calling them forth to rise, right? Calling them forth to rise voluntarily from where they want to be. Now, I use a lot of content, and it's like, the reason why you haven't gotten this is because of this. But it's never from a place of you're bad, you need to change this, you're horrible. It's more of a problem awareness and letting them know, like, what's impacting the growth that you want. So even this video, it's like, okay, you'd like to impact tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. However, there are three things that you get to shift. And, you know, in my mind, it's, you could take it or leave it. Like, it's not like you have to shift this. It's more like take it or leave it. Feel me? So when you find yourself feeling like you are so like annoyed or angry with your audience because you're like, all you need to do is do this. That's where you get to take a break, take a beat, and say, okay, if I were them, how would I best receive this message? I always love to tap into my inner God, right? We are that God frequency within me. And I'm like, okay, what's the best way that this is going to reach the exact right person for this message? And it's coming from a space of love versus coming from a space of judgment. Okay, so that's the first one. Leave the judgment behind. while we are doing, guys, the sun is rising. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, the sun is rising and it is just absolutely gorgeous. Okay, let's talk about number two. Number two, you've got to fully embrace your humanity. And this is where you got to see if you are letting ego drive the bus. And I know we're all spiritual, we're all light workers, and I don't live by my ego. How dare? No, there's no way. No. We are all human. I'm human. And there are times when I'm like, dishy up, and I have to go within. Okay. So let's use that as an example. So there was a conversation that Sarah was having with Caroline Brooks. And so it was about, Caroline was talking about how she was brought up. She's wanting to maybe send her child to boarding school because she feels like that is going to be the answer. And she's talking about how maybe her mom or her situation wasn't as affectionate, blah, blah, blah. And so Sarah, of course, being a attuned light worker, can feel where, oh, that's the answer. Like if she was a little bit more affectionate, it would, with her child, it would make a big difference. And boarding school probably isn't the answer, blah, blah, blah. Well, anyway, the way that Sarah approached the conversation was from a more judgmental space versus I hear you and I see where you're going. Like I see that you want to make a difference in your son's life. I see that these decisions that you're making them from a standpoint of, I love this boy and I want him to have a better life than I do. And she was like, you should go tuck him in or you should do this. And it was more of a should. And that was not received well at all. And there was a lot of, not only did she feel judgment, but when it wasn't received well, this is where Sarah made a little bit of something that I would have shifted. So when it wasn't received well, instead of admitting that she may have overstepped or that, that there was a new way to say it, Sarah doubled down, y'all. She doubled down. She doubled down on the conversation she was having. She doubled down. I'm just going to show you the sunrise again. Oh my God, so gorgeous. She doubled down on that conversation and was like, yeah, I said that and this is why. And for me, intuitively, it was more because she didn't want to be seen as wrong, right? She didn't want to admit that maybe the way she said it wasn't exactly, where her intentions were. This is where I feel like she has a business. She has an online business. She's a light worker. This is the work she does. And she doesn't want to admit when she's made some maybe faux pas or she didn't necessarily come at it the way she would have liked. And so this is where she's allowing the way other people see her, right, affect how she's letting the way other people may see her or may experience her. She's letting that affect the way she responds. And so where are you not embracing your full humanity and remembering that even though you are a light worker and even though you are going to affect hundreds of thousands of lives, that you also can possibly make mistakes and possibly say some things that are out of pocket and you are freaking human. So is your ego driving the bus or is it your heart? Okay, so that's number two. Number three is the most important one. And it kind of wraps up 1 and 2 together, but it is a separate one and it's something that needs to be talked about on its own. And that is be the light. Sarah often mentions and talks about how she's healed her traumas as she's done this kind of work and she's been doing this for years and all of this stuff. And honey, I get it. I have too, honey. Yes. And that is a reason why I we are vibrating high and higher than maybe most of the world and all of those things. Yes, I get that. However, the more she keeps saying, I've done this, I've healed this trauma, she's in a space where she's not recognizing when some of those triggers are coming back up the spiral for her to look at the mirror and see and allow herself to integrate even more of that shadow. So she's getting deeply triggered by for example, she keeps talking about how she's healed. I've done this work. And yes, you have, girl. I'm so happy with you. But she's not recognizing when it's coming back around for her to either go deeper into that healing and integrate something else. She's actually getting annoyed with the flaws, right? The flaws of her cast members, instead of embracing that and even seeing that as a mirror to see where she's triggered so that she could say, wow, where am I not allowing myself to to experience the world in that vision or in that way, or where am I still seeing things that way, or where am I judging it? Because if you had healed it, there would be no trigger, and you can come from a space of clean energy, open vessel, love. Yet she's coming from a space of, oh Lord, you need to go to this, and hypnotherapy showed me this, and I healed all of this stuff, and you need to change, kind of deal. And so the biggest thing that I said was that in order to help people like come into the light or attract people into the light, because that's what a light worker does, you've got to also be the light. And in order to be the light, you get to integrate your shadows, not like invalidate them. And when you invalidate them, you push them away and you make them, you lock them in. And then they become something that you get to shift and clear. You know, y'all feeling me? Okay. So this isn't saying you have to be perfect as a light worker, because you don't. You absolutely don't. We're not expected to be perfect. In fact, we're expected to be cleaning and clearing and doing all the things all the time. This is saying that when you can leave judgment behind and come from a space of love, when you can really embrace your own humanity and not come from a place of defending and needing to be perfect, because you think that that's going to validate you as a light worker and as the healer. And then when you also can be the light and recognize when a mirror is up and shadows are being seen, and they're going to be, like I said, going up the spiral of transformation. You've healed a lot of things, but they're going to come back in a bigger, bolder, even maybe more intense way, because the veil is down. And this is the time where we're being called to complete cycles. And that means that a lot of the things that you cleared or shifted or did the things for, they could come back, especially when you are wanting to impact hundreds of thousands of people. They're going to come back in a bigger way, because you are being called to integrate even more shadows. You are being called to be even more light. Okay. And so this is why I created the Unbothered Masterclass. Okay, so the Unbothered Masterclass is all about looking at where we're triggered. And there's many places, trust me. And even looking at those hidden triggers, the things that you thought you shifted, things that you're like, oh, I'm done with that. Because when you do that and you integrate those shadows, you become a clear channel for receiving, whether that's receiving content, receiving clients, receiving. And that's the doorway to becoming the sugar baby of the universe, becoming the sugar baby that's also the sugar daddy. And so if you're ready to lead thousands or millions into the light that you are, into being more light that they are, then DM me, Unbothered, or put it in the comments below. And I will get you the link to the Unbothered Master Class, because it is going to be exactly what you need to prepare you for your inevitable skyrocket in growth, in audience, in visibility, and in what you're creating in this world. Hugs, kisses, all the feels. Bye.